Hello and welcome to a video on travel photography tips. First, I think it's important to define what travel photography is to you. And when you put it within that box, things become a lot easier to actually get a check mark and feel nice at the end of your trip. So are you here to create a few images to put up on a canvas in your home? Are you here to create a photo book? You're here to make a zine, family zine? Tim is, he's nodding. Can't really nod the gimbal, I don't know.
It's nodding.
It's nodding?
Yeah.
Today, we're creating a YouTube video, so that's the goal of this. And we're here in Florence. I just spoke at Way Up North, and we are walking back to see Jackson Grant, who begins talking 1 hour from now, actually 52 minutes from now. So we're gonna take some photos on the way back and talk about how you can get better travel photos that fill your life with happiness more. So one of the travel photography tips, and the thing that I've noticed, if you are intending on printing images, you probably want to actually shoot the landmarks, even though it feels cliche and it's been done a million times. And if you're putting your own art up in your house, it just feels a lot better. You're not getting that IKEA print to the Eiffel Tower or Florence River here. You're actually creating it. And that obviously will transport you back to that moment. If you can also pair that with something that actually matters, like we hang out up here and have wine, and it's really nice. Tim proposed to Kelly right over here, alleyway. Am I touching it? Somewhere over there. So we're gonna go take a few photos of the bridge. We were out last night, and I think one of the first travel photography tips I have is just go at the right time of day. So if you have maybe two locations that you want to capture, make sure you get there at the right time of day. So maybe that's golden hour, maybe that's morning golden hour if you don't want any people around, or maybe that's blue hour, which I think looks best on this bridge. Let's go take a picture in the bright sun though, because there's benefits of shooting right now because the sun is actually illuminating the bridge and bringing out all the natural saturation. Also, I have a taxi cap. Thanks, Jason, Bong, and Vivian. If you are doing street photography, and street photography is your passion, probably key to keep a low profile camera, so removing the taxi hat will help you out. Also, the Ricoh GR III HDF is what this is, so it has a highlight diffusion filter, which is a partial mist filter, and it has this function called snap focus, and you can set the distance, so you can set 1 meter, 1.5, 2 meters, 2.5 meters, and that means that as soon as you just jam on the shutter, so if you half press, it'll focus nicely. But if you're just like trying to get that moment, you predefine what that distance is and it will just snap the focus there, which is really, really cool. For instance, mine is set to 2.5 meters, which means if I'm about here, so 2.5 meters, and I just jam on the shutter, you get that photo. So if you're walking street photography wise, you can capture anything. It's important to have the camera out and on to do that. But it's a very, very nice feature for street photography. And I've been using it a lot and it's not something that I normally do. In travel photography, for me today, maybe it's weird, but we're just looking to create content for a YouTube video. Usually, the strategy, at least for me, is a number of things. One, I want to create something that would look nice if I printed for myself. Two, because of the professional side of my business, I also want to make something that could potentially be a print as well. The thing I noticed with actually selling prints is that people don't really buy prints for the most part unless they've been to a place and it has a special meaning, and maybe also they know you. So coming to a very popular tourist destination actually will make you more sellable work rather than going somewhere that no one's ever been. So if they have a tie to this place, they might actually buy a print from you. So this scene works really well. This is kind of a layup shot. Shot this in the morning with no people, which is amazing, but then all the shops over here are closed. I've shot it blue hour, which I think is probably the best, that there's lots of people kind of all around, but I think the feeling, it comes together a lot better. And I've shot it at nighttime. The contrast is quite significant, and you can research this by going and finding the location that you want to shoot, do a Google image search and just see when it looks best. I've also enabled the HDF, which is the mist filter, on this picture, so as you can see by all the lights and how they make that nice little glow. I think it adds ambience. If you don't like it, probably don't get this camera. You can turn it off and on in the camera, so you can turn it off if you don't want it, but if it's not your taste, then probably just get the regular GR3 or 3X, if you can find it. I hope you'll find them now that this is out. So the difference between the GR3 HDF and the regular is that the HDF comes with that mist filter rather than the ND. So there's a built-in ND in the GR3 and the GR3X. That's my dad. The difference between the 3 and the 3X is the focal length. So this is the regular 3 HDF, which is a 28mm lens, and the X version comes with a 40mm lens. In my brain, I thought that the 40mm would be the one that I wanted. As it turns out, I've been using the 28 pretty much every single day, so the 3, and I differentiate them because they're both in my bag with a taxi cap. So the taxi cap is my 28. If you're doing street photography though. Oh yeah, I can't walk off screen because it's just gonna track me.
Let's get
that was the attempted exit.
We're gonna die out here.
So talk about settings here. I am in P mode currently, which is P for professional. There are other modes on this camera and probably on your camera, whether they're on a dial or they're internal somewhere. The modes that I usually use for walking around like this, usually I really like the look of kind of shallow depth of field. So I'm typically set to AV mode, which is aperture priority. And I am at my minimum, which is the widest aperture. So on this camera, f2.8. And I'm just very conscious that my shutter speed is fast enough. So if I'm walking like this and I'm trying to catch motion really fast, if my shutter speed starts to drop below maybe even 1/160 of a second, I know at that point it might be smart to go to a different mode, like shutter priority mode. Shutter priority, you can just set your shutter and let the camera make the rest of the decisions. So if you know you're walking, you know things are moving fast, maybe you set your camera to 1/250th of a second. Like right now. There we go. That guy having a great time. I think I was closer than 2.5 meters though. So you gotta get your meter stick out.
What are you seeing right now? What's catching your eye?
Right now there's a lot of people walking around. I'm looking for light. So the cool thing with Florence and a lot of cities is the fact that there are buildings, so the lighting is changing. So even if it's not golden hour, there are still opportunities around here.
Chase this horse?
And I don't want to chase the horse. We almost got hit by a horse at Marrakesh. This is a photograph I call man standing in square, wearing straw hat, photographer attempting to not be hit by horses. I was almost unsuccessful, but I did get the photo. So I got that going for me, which is nice. The other good thing with especially being in this downtown core is that the light just bounces everywhere. So pretty much everyone is perfectly lit, whether they are in the shade or they're in the sun. The harsh direct sun actually kind of softens out a little bit when you're getting that bounce, like right here. It's just nice, it's nice everywhere. We're following the horse. Another thing I'm always looking for is angles and frames and natural frames.
Frames. Does your camera make frames? Frames.
Frames.
Do you use natural frames? Frames.
Frames. So all the shops here, very nice natural frames. Again, it all comes down to what you're trying to build. If it's a book, maybe you kind of need that seasoning of a few shots with no people, or if you're trying to build a family book, maybe just a few landscapes or a few shots of the area around your hotel, and then the rest can be all family. And for those photos, I'm pretty much looking for light first, and then composition second. And sometimes you find a great scene and you just can wait there and let something happen within it. Unfortunately, Jackson Grant is on stage in 40 minutes, so we don't have much time to just kind of sit and hang out. But if you're alone, grab a coffee, find that nice composition, hang out, and you'll probably be rewarded for your patience. Sometimes you won't be though. I photograph people, depending on which country you're in, there's a lot of different things to keep in mind. If you're in Japan, it's kind of weird or frowned upon to just take photos of random strangers. So if you are, you kind of make it obvious of what you're doing and don't just try to sneak photos. In some European countries like Germany, it's very, very frowned upon. And in some countries like France, if you take a photo of someone, they actually own the copyright of that photo, which is pretty crazy. I don't consider myself a great street photographer. There are other better channels. I Explore, Lucas, amazing. We did a video together a couple weeks ago in Tokyo, and it was a lot of fun to see his process, as well as just walk around kind of his home of, maybe specifically his photography home of Shinjuku in Tokyo. So lots of great street photography tips in that. It's up here on top of the screen somewhere. So if I didn't finish my thoughts on TV mode, TV is shutter speed, so you set your shutter speed. And I do that and I let my ISO and my aperture roam free, which means sometimes I might be shooting at f8 or f16 if it gets sunny, or it might be down at 2.8, but my shutter speed is consistent, so I know when I'm moving that my frame is going to be sharp. Now, there's a lot of different methods to travel photography. Some of them are, oh, it's a bus, that's a big one. Bye, Tim. So there's a lot of different methods to street photography, and you can shoot a lot of frames per second, or you can shoot single frames. I like to have a nice blend. Lucas shoots a lot. At a wedding day, I'll shoot a ton. But for street, I would say I'm usually taking maybe 1 or 2 photos per scene. I'm not getting too crazy. I'm also limited, I would say, by the technology here. That if you're shooting something like a Nikon Z9, you can take a lot of photos. You can also be in complete silent mode. This camera is also very quiet. I would say that's a benefit in situations like this, or even when you're out to dinner. It's a little more discreet to be able to just take photos as you wish and not alert everyone to the fact that, hello, there's a photography person here making the shutter slap. What's that song?
Make that shutter slap.
Make that shutter slap? Now we gotta make a song. The light is doing some interesting things. There are little columns of light kind of going through here. which means if people end up in those columns, they're going to be illuminated perfectly. They're going to be separated and isolated from the scene, which is going to make a better photo overall. You can get like really contrasty too, that if you really drag down kind of the darks, you can make that light area really pop. But this is one of those scenes you got to hang out for, and we got to go see Jackson. A lot of our trips, I would say, are very rarely in a city. So we'll spend a lot of time and effort to get to nice locations and actually sit there. So another option is that you get a tripod and you do very slow photography. Get your ND filters on and you just wait for that right moment, and that can be part of the trip. It's hard to balance that if you have a family or you have your partner with you. So just something to keep in mind, to also be respectful of their... He says I'm a very crazy man.
You look like a crazy man.
I look like a crazy man? We go to a lot of places, but I would say that Florence is home to the most random tourist walkers ever. Usually people go in a specific direction. Not here. I've seen 4 people get hit by bikes on this trip that they just like blindly. So maybe another tip of travel, pay more attention to your surroundings. I guess you are if you're doing photography, so maybe that's a problem solved. So maybe the tip here is focus a little bit more on your surroundings and be open to other opportunities rather than getting laser focused on one specific thing going on and get hit by a bike. I'm also always looking for complementing colors and scenes that usually I'm more interested in a scene that has one strong color, like more of a monochromatic but not black and white scene. So if there is a bike that is the same color as a wall, so I'm looking for scenes that just feel really nice together. In tourist areas, there is a lot of distracting stuff around all the time, including people. If you ever do take a photo that you really love the lighting, the composition, the everything, but it just is distracting, the option is probably just turn it black and white. That usually solves a lot of those problems.
So like that.
Yeah, so like this is nice, but it's just chaos everywhere,
Canada.
right? It
So
says Canada?
Nice.
That's nice. Well, so you gotta get like really close and frame everything else out. Another tip is actually to limit the amount of time you shoot kind of up like this. Maybe that's personal preference, but I find even if you're reaching up like this to get more of a square frame, and then maybe you might even do a little bit of post-production to square out all the buildings. I think that makes a more pleasing image overall, at least to me. You can have differing opinions. If you want to shoot everything 14 on the ground, feel free. I can't today because this is 28. What's that smell? I can't walk off screen. One of the easiest ways to get access to really cool locations to take pictures at is just by being a person that spends money there. So if you go to a restaurant, you walk in, you just try to take pictures, they're probably gonna be weird, you're probably gonna get kicked out. But if you have a meal there, they're probably just gonna be fine with you doing whatever, especially if it's a smaller camera like this. Here's a dog. Oh yeah. Cool dog. There's some photos that look really cool in real life. Like this seemed like it was gonna be a great photo. I stopped, I was like very excited for it. And looking at the playback, I don't know. So there are a lot of locations that will trick you. And there's some that will surprise you. Yeah, another option is just to actually book tour guides. If you're doing an official production, if you're a TV production or doing a movie, you are going to probably hire a fixer, which is a more official version of a tour guide that will hopefully get you access to places and when there's actually signatures required. If you're just doing this for your personal work and you book a tour, they're probably gonna show you some cool stuff, and they're also gonna have the language to at least communicate. It seems like a lot of the cool places we've been that we really want to take pictures of, there's sometimes pretty limited English. When you have someone that speaks the language and is a professional tour guide with a little card you can show them, sometimes they can make things happen that you probably couldn't make happen on your own. That's a good scene. I also look for very simple compositions like this. I don't know, does that work? Does that not work?
It's gorgeous.
I think it looks pretty nice. Again, the lighting kind of works because you're getting this like weird bounce light off this building and it kind of fills in all here. If it was a cloudy day, I don't know. Would it still be good? Who knows? That's why it's good to get out and go for a walk every time. There's no bad light, there's only light. I feel like I stole that quote from someone.
Probably.
Was it you, Tim? Did you say that?
I said that.
Anthony Bourdain. I think it's also important to photograph your experience as well. So as cliche as food photography is, I feel like it's nice to it's nice to just have photos of that. I don't know, is that weird?
No, that's good.
Photograph what makes you happy. Don't listen to people on Reddit. Threads? Yeah, definitely don't listen to people on Threads. Tim says make sure you stop for hydration, that you don't just walk all day and pass out at the end of it and get that, just not even alcohol related, but just hangover from dehydration. You can also probably get like a beer helmet with two, like one, you'll can't really do street photography because everyone will be staring at you. Unless that's what you want. I mean, that's a life hack. It's very nice to just have a sit down, especially when you're here in Europe and the weather is pretty nice. Just have a sit down on a patio, hang out, have a nice time, watch the scene, maybe spend a little bit of time if you're waiting for the light to change to do something else, and enjoy your experience. I think at the end of the day, that's the most important. And we're quite early, so let's go do some photography inside Way Up North. Who wants a portrait? Cool. I also have, these have been all straight out of camera JPEGs from this camera, and I have a Portra 400 film simulation on this. So as soon as I walk inside, I can't really use it anymore because it's very white balance based. It only affects the JPEG, raw files aren't changed. I don't know about the face detect on this. Yeah. The theater is beautiful, but unfortunately there's a bit of construction right now. But here we are, way up north. My picture. You can watch this full wedding day on YouTube also. It's up there.
Where was it?
Big Sur, California. So I think that's about all for today. Thanks for joining us. Way up north, Florence, Italy. And I'll see you again next time. Here's a video you can watch. I can't exit the screen because it's just gonna follow me. Oh, gimbal endpoint, nice.